2022, for the first time, female CEOs outnumbered any single man name. You know that thing where they used to say there are more CEOs called James or John? For once, finally, we got past that in the S&P 500 CEOs. So in this next panel, we'll be discussing the importance of inclusive leadership as it plays a role in fostering a diverse and inclusive workplace. Our moderator is Stéphane Pallez, who's the CEO and president of the FDJ Group and a member of SISTA's board of directors. We have Johann Rivalland, who's the head of UBS Wealth Management in France, Hala Fadel, the managing director of growth at Eurazeo, and Jalil Chikhi, the managing director of Android partnerships in EMEA.
Hello, everybody. I hope you are still in good shape and ready to listen to us in English, because this is an international summit, as you know. So we'll speak English in this panel. Thanks. I'm going to moderate this panel, which is about inclusive leadership, and I think you all know that. To be a diverse industry, we need leaders that not only believe in inclusion, in diversity, but that also act in favor of it, that are committed and that do take this seriously. And so I have the opportunity, I think, with a diverse panel to ask everyone to explain first how he or she became convinced that it was a real important issue. What makes you what made you one day get into this and think, yes, I'm concerned, I'm involved, I'm committed, I want to be a leader on that. And after that, we'll talk about what our different organizations might have done. So I will start with myself to show an example, and it's actually a very I would say banal story. The story is basically that, of course, I did nice studies, I was a good pupil, I got good grades, I passed, and at some point, of course, I was working for the French administration in the Minister for Economy and Finance that we all know here. And at some point, I was pregnant, which was a happy news, and at the same time, I actually was candidate for a job, and I was told in a very kind way that probably it was not good for me, and so I should not actually be a candidate for this job, and it had actually the opposite effect on me, which is that I really wanted it. So, you know, when I was like a child, you know, when you say, no, you're not going to have this. Well, I really wanted to have it, and I got it. And I think this was, in a way, a starting point, because before that, well, I thought that since, of course, I was doing everything right, I wasn't having any problem and no issue. So that's why, in a way, I came to be more aware. And at some point, of course, not only I was aware, but I became to be active and to use my power as a leader to do something. So I wanted to start by asking you what happened to you. What is the catalyst that made you think it was important to do something? And maybe I'll start with you, Hala.
Hello. It's working. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, SISTA, for organizing such an inspiring summit. I have a similar story as yours, Stéphane. I have two anecdotes that really triggered me as someone who's really passionate around the topic of diversity and equity. So the first anecdote, when I was a little girl growing up in France with a first name, which is Hala, in a country where you don't pronounce the H, I was always asked the question where you're coming from, and then when you're called Hala, all kinds of assumptions come in the way. And I thought I was doing everything right. I was also working very hard, and this really triggered me to work even harder and to prove to the world that even with a name like this, you could achieve some things. And the second anecdote, I was in the US this time, starting a company, a telecom software business in the 1999-2000 years. And my co-founder was a woman as well. And I got pregnant, and my investors said, how are you going to do this? You need to find someone to replace you or to sell the company. And this is what I did. I sold the company. So I was lucky because soon enough came March 2000 and the market crashed. But I think I should have persevered a bit longer in that journey. And these two experiences made me very passionate and aware of topics around discrimination, around gender equity, and all the topics around inclusion. And then having lived through performing teams, because now it's a well-known fact that diverse teams and gender diverse and socially diverse and racially diverse teams perform much, much better, both in terms of profitability, productivity, but also creativity. So this is what really triggered this passion in me.
Thank you, thank you. So, kind of usual patterns that we have. So maybe, Del, you want to go now?
Thank you, Stéphane. With pleasure. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you, SISTA, for the great summit. I could share some stories like Hala about being named Jalil in France. So I am Algerian, so come to France to study. I could share also stories about having a small 10-year-old boy who would like to cut his hair last weekend just because his friends made fun of him because of the curly hair. I could tell stories about my mom who raised me because my father died when I was 13, and she was always very, very disappointed of her name being the fourth name on the book that she has co-authored, just because she was the only woman writing that book. Or I could tell stories about my wife as well that has been pushed out of her job during her second pregnancy. But I will leave you maybe with two anecdotes, which are more in the workplace that I have experienced as a leader and as a manager. I think the first time that I was really hit is when a very talented woman in my team that we were all agreeing that she would do a fantastic manager and leader told us that she doesn't want to become a manager and a leader just because what others are projecting in terms of behaviors as a manager or leader are not things that they would like to be. And I think this was a really first hit. And the second one was when we raised the paternity leave to 3 months at Google, and I started seeing more men asking whether they should take that parental leave, that paternity leave, and what would be the impact on their careers. So that made me think a lot about what are the implications and how I could contribute to gender equality.
Thank you very much. So, Johann.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So on my side, I have to say that I haven't had so many troubles in my professional life when it comes to diversity. I am the typical 40-plus white male French engineer in a senior management role in the financial sector. But, there's a but. But it does not prevent me from being a strong believer in DE&I, so diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts, and quite the opposite, in fact. I'm also a big fan of ice hockey and of team sports in general. And in those games, you need a striker, a defender, a goalkeeper, and all these people to win the game. And I think it works the same in the organization. You need producers, you need managers, you need control functions to make the company work. And I strongly believe it works the same for men and women. So diversity definitely makes us stronger. in the organization and at every single level, including CEOs, really.
Thank you very much. So you see that we have a diverse panel. We even have a white male. So we're really very diverse, and we like it, actually. So coming from that, I think I would like you to share with us and to share with the audience what you think are the best things that the organization has been doing to act concretely and to have results on this. For me, but I will be very quick. I think my punchline is really to say that I've been dealing with this like any business or strategic issue, because it is actually a business and strategic issue for a company. So when I came, when I was appointed as the CEO of FDJ, I just said, well, we need to have objectives, we need to have KPI, we need to have commitments, we need to measure our results, and then of course, then we're going to achieve what we want to do, which is to have a more diverse organization at all the level, with, of course, less, and even if we could achieve it, no difference in terms of pay gap. And actually, we were measured about that by Index Pénicaud, and I can say, because, well, it's my moment, that FDJ is actually the only company in the SBF 120 which had 100 on 100 3 years in a row. So it works. So I would like to invite you to explain what in your company has been the most striking thing, or the good recipe that you would like others to think about. You want to start?
With pleasure. Thank you, Stéphane. First, starting with the challenges. As a tech company, we are unfortunately not immune to the challenges that we are seeing in the whole industry. So we have our challenges when it comes to hiring, when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to creating belonging within the company. And as you said, I think this is something that we took very seriously and that we wanted to act on. The way that we are thinking of it is really thinking about 3 pillars. So the first pillar is about our workplace, how we can make sure that our workplace is our best asset when it comes to attracting talents and keeping them. The second one is about our products. We know that we have a huge responsibility when it comes to our products that touch billions of users, and we would like those products to be the perfect reflection of the world as well. And finally, it's also about how we can, with the participation of many other companies, associations, and with the governments, contribute to the society as well. So maybe just focusing on the workplace to start with. One of the big challenges that we want to solve for is how we are hiring in order to close that gender gap. And we've seen that we need to tackle it every step of the way. So starting first with how to make sure that our job descriptions are more inclusive. Because we know, unfortunately, if you don't know that, but a man will go for a job if he has only 20% of the qualifications, which is not true for women or for underrepresented groups. So making sure that we work on the job descriptions is already phase 1. Then making sure that we work on the panels that we have, making sure that we take more time to hire. Because if you would like to go very fast, that we will have only the people that will apply because they have 20% of the qualifications. So we decided intentionally to slow down the processes in order to have more representation in our panels. And finally, making sure that when we hire those people, when we bring them to the company, they have also a great experience. So making sure that we have panels, interviewing panels that are gender balanced, so that they get the best experience as well. But attracting them is not just, it's just the beginning, it's not the end. So making sure that when we are in the workplace, we work on the belonging. Making sure that now all our VPs have performance-driven KPIs when it comes to the diversity of their teams and the inclusion index within their organization. Making sure that we bring also to the managers that will ultimately give the experience in the company to the people that are joining us and to the women that are joining us about how we can train them on unconscious biases that we discussed earlier on another panel. How we can make sure that we empower them to have the difficult conversations, and how we can also making sure that we support women in helping them in being remarkable in the organization and knowing that they are already remarkable within our organizations.
Thank you. Hala, you want to go on talking about Eurazeo, maybe?
Yeah, about maybe not Eurazeo in general, but maybe where the mission is, has a common denominator with SISTA here, because I work for the growth team within Eurazeo, a team that focuses on tech investments. And as you know, tech is a field where both in terms of startups and on the investment side, women and diversity in general is not well represented. So this was actually part of my decision to join Eurazeo, because I saw that in terms of leadership of this team, there was a strong will to create a diverse team. And today, within the Eurazeo growth team and the 20 investment professionals within this team, we have more than 50% of women. And at the top level, at the managing director level, among the 5 members of the investment committee, we have 3 women and 2 men. And I think this is very important for us in terms of moving the ecosystem towards more diversity, because the problem is twofold. One, on the investment team, and the second part of the problem is how many women entrepreneurs there are. So I think the first part of the solution was focusing on creating a diverse team, investment team. We also have 17 nationalities represented within this team. And now for us, the problem we're going to tackle, and hopefully jointly with SISTA, is creating a diverse pool of women founders that we can invest in. So I commend the SISTA Fund initiative. I hope we can be part of this. I also see in our portfolio an incredible woman leading actually a French and US company called Algolia, Bernadette Nixon, who's an incredible and very inspiring woman entrepreneur. And we hope to see more on those. So we started working on diversity on boards within our portfolio companies. The second step will be to work on C-level and executive women within our portfolio companies, because most often these women are the ones who leave their startups to start another company in a field they're already familiar with. And another part of the solution, which we do already with some of our portfolio companies, is mentorship. Mentorship to women, both from women, but from men as well. So hopefully, maybe not next year because we need time, but in a few years we'll come up with some strong results that have been achieved by having both a diverse team on the investment side and on the portfolio side.
Thank you. So, Johann, you want to
Thank you.
add your touch?
Yeah, I'll say a few words about UBS. And so at UBS, we have, I would say, a global commitment to supporting women when it comes to financial empowerment. But what is most important is the way I see it locally under 3 angles. And the first angle is with our own people. We have launched on the ground DE&I, so diversity, equity, and inclusion streams in every single country where UBS is acting. And we have local ambassadors who share best practices on the ground and disseminate the culture locally. So this is the interaction between the local and the global. Second is as an investment, an impactful investor. In 2019, we launched the UBS Global Gender Equality Fund, which invests in 100 global companies with the best gender equality indicators. Today, the assets under management are close to $1 billion, so invested capital aligned with the United Nations SDG number 5. And third, so the third angle would be with our clients. So we have a number of initiatives globally, obviously, like the UBS Female Founders Program and sort of things. But locally, we have something that has been started in 2016, a few women bankers launched a club. The club is called Women by UBS. And this club offers our female clients a professional and qualified network of, I would say, community around the investment, but also the opportunity to connect with a number of female around the investment field altogether. And this has been very, very powerful so far. And all these initiatives along these three pillars obviously link together, and I think will help better inclusion of women in finance as general.
Thank you very much. So I see that time is running fast. So we're going to conclude soon the panel, maybe by being very short on the last question I wanted to deal with, which is how do you see what kind of action, maybe one simple action we should have as a way to also impact society, because I think what we've seen that our companies are doing a lot of things. Actually, companies are moving on this. Maybe they're moving too slow, but they're moving definitely with strong commitments and strong leaders. What I found quite striking is that despite of that, when, for instance, you look at girls that do consider being in tech or in digital in school, actually in France, the number of girls that are thinking about this as a professional career is lowering down. So I think that as companies we do a lot, but maybe we should extend our action to also interact with education, which I think is a key lever, to actually grow the pipe of women that want to join our company, be leaders in tech, be leaders in science, and so on. And so do you think it's something on which we can do things? Maybe, Johann, you want to start?
So I'll keep it short in the interest of time. But as you are saying, it's related to education in general, I would say financial education in particular. I think the financial culture in general is very weak across the entire population. And we need to find ways to improve this financial education. There has been a number of initiatives here and there supported by associations like the AFG in France in order to include financial courses in school, in high school, starting as early as possible in order to make everyone educated on that ground. And I think we need to accelerate on that. And I think it would help definitely women, but also men and everyone in general, if people are getting better educated financially earlier and would make smarter decisions when it comes to investment.
Jalil, you want to?
Yes, with pleasure.
Shortly, because we actually
I'll do it very short.
We're over our time.
I'll take just the opportunity to say that what the SISTA fund and the SISTA team is doing is very, very important and critical, because it's just the tip of the iceberg. For the one that were here before, we talked about 10, 7, 2, which were the numbers in terms of investments in women-led startups. It's only 0.5, not 5, 0.5 when it comes to black founders. So you can imagine that the lead that we are taking on women is really important for the rest also of the inequalities that we have to manage.
Thank you. Hala?
Yeah. I think the impact of mentorship can be huge. I mean, we've seen it in different situations, but for inclusion in general, not just for women, for all types of inclusion, having the right mentors that open doors for you, that explain the world for you, that give you self-confidence is something that is really key. So not just for women founders, but for diverse founders in general.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to finish by actually quoting my mentor. So my mentor is Christine Lagarde. So I'm lucky. And of course, you know that she's been saying great things about women in finance. Many nice quotes. So there's one that I've got here, which is fewer testosterone, smaller ego, that helps. And I will finish with that. Thank you very much.